This is Steve Robbins. Welcome to the Get It Done Guys quick and dirty tips to work less and do more. It's election time. Suddenly all of our friends are experts in foreign policy, environmental regulation, economics, and all kinds of other things they never talk about except in election years. If only they realized how ignorant, irrational, and hideously unqualified to vote they all sounded. Not like us, of course. We are completely educated on all of the issues. We're rational, and we are gloriously qualified to vote. That's why it's good to be us. Sadly, though, we are also human, so we still have unconscious biases that can destroy our good decisions. Our brains sometimes feel certain about an issue, even when there's no actual basis for the certainty. I was eating Szechuan chicken once, and I was absolutely certain that that cute little red pepper would be super easy to eat. And it was, if by super easy you mean strapped to a gurney screaming while being shuttled to the emergency room for an emergency tongue transplant. We all have built-in biases that blind us to even the most obvious disasters right in front of our noses. Just take one look at 1970s fashion, flowery embroidered bell-bottoms worn with fringed leathered vests. It took us years to truly realize the horror of what we'd done. Biases matter because they distort our worldview. Our worldview determines our actions, and our actions determine the results that we get. If we act on bias instead of reality, we get worse results. Your boss gives you a hard assignment. If you have a bias to believe that your boss hates you, what you think is, they're torturing me, and you quit. Oops. It turns out your boss gave you a hard assignment because you're up for promotion to Lesser Grand Poobah. This assignment would prove your worth to the Council of Poobahs. If you had known the truth, rather than your false belief, you might be lounging around the Lesser Grand Poobah den at this very moment. Your rants reveal your biases. When electing someone to run a gigantic country, you'll get the best outcome by choosing a candidate wisely. Sadly, when politics are involved, our rational brains take a holiday and our hysterical, screeching monkey brains take over. And this happens to me too. This year, however, I developed an anti-bias exercise to help. One bias is that whatever we're hearing about is what we think is important. When we hear about candidate A, we keep abreast of one set of topics, and with candidate B, another set of topics rises up. We end up not evaluating the candidates equally. Bernice is shopping for fruit trees to offer for sale at her plant store, Green Growing Things. As she walks past the apples, she thinks, that looks just like the apple from Sleeping Beauty, and there is one that is perfect for archery practice. Pretty soon, she's sure that she wants to branch out into apples, until she sees oranges. Oh, they're such a beautiful color. So beautiful, in fact, that someone should name a color after them. And they did. But sadly, there aren't any magical uses for a Valencia orange. Well, that she knows of. Which should she choose? Apples seem to be the winner, since they're good for magic and archery. Oranges, though, win on color. She's using different criteria to judge the different options. If you weren't a super smart deep thinker like me, you might be tempted to conclude that you can't compare apples and oranges. But you'd be wrong. We're so awesome that we can compare apples and oranges, and thus make a better decision than we would otherwise. Create universal criteria. First, list every pro or con that you can think of for apples. Bernice lists, useful for sleeping spells, great for balancing on a teenager's head as an archery target. Do tell. Oranges suck for magic, but they're really colorful. So her list contains magic utility, archery utility, and color. Now, she adds other criteria that seem relevant but didn't come to mind earlier. Since this is a business, Bernice adds sales potential as another criterion. Now she draws a column for apples and a column for oranges on the page. She rates both along all of the criteria that she used for either one. Apples get high magic and archery, and she hadn't been thinking about color and sales when browsing, but now that she does, they get poor marks for color. There are too many colors, making it hard to accessorize. Plus, they score low in sales potential. Apple pie is so 1776. Oranges score low in magic, high in color, and now that she reflects, high in sales potential. They're very 21st century. After all, orange is the new black. And super high in archery value. There's no better way to spend an afternoon than shooting arrows at oranges that are rolling off an ungrateful teenager's head. Surprise! Oranges now have 3 pros and 1 con, where apples only have 2 pros. It's an incredible upseat and oranges win, but only because we overcame our biases by deliberately listing all of our criteria and evaluating all of the options. Now let's bring it back to elections. In this election, it's easy to get worked up given who's running, so write down all of your fears and hopes about each candidate. If you have trouble thinking of fears and hopes, just browse your Facebook wall. It will give you hints, as will the list of people that you've unfriended if you go back and recall what they said that destroyed your friendship forever. Make your hopes and fears for each candidate into a master list of what you care about in a presidential candidate. Then add anything else you think is important. You'll end up with a list that contains things like quality of speaking voice, chances of starting World War III by accident, and has sensible fiscal policies that reflect a Rawlsian theory of distributed justice. Next, rate all the candidates on all of the criteria. Then take a break. Go back, review the sheet, and when you look over each candidate along every dimension, you may find that your thinking has changed. Personally, I discovered that my criteria had a definite gender bias. I considered myself a non-sexist person, and I was shocked when this exercise showed me that it wasn't so. So I watched the next debate, imagining both candidates wearing a pink tutu. This pretty much eliminated the gender bias and allowed me to concentrate on the serious issues. When electing the president of a powerful country, don't accidentally apply only some of your criteria to each candidate. You make a very bad choice that way. Instead, evaluate all of the candidates using all of your criteria. Then and only then will you have any hope of making a good choice that's unclouded by unconscious bias. So do the work that it takes to make sure you're making a good decision. Remember, we don't want criminals running the country. We do want professional. That means no cons, only pros. This is Steve Robbins. Follow Get It Done Guy on Twitter and Facebook. I run programs to help people have extraordinary lives and extraordinary careers. If you want to know more, visit steverobbins.com or join my personal mailing list by texting Get It Done to 33444. You'll also get a free copy of my secret book chapter on how to build relationships that help you succeed. Work less, do more, and have a great life.